What's going on, everyone? I'm here today with Teddy. He joined the program about 24 weeks ago now, or just
25, 25.
25 weeks ago, right? And in just 25 weeks, or in the past 25 weeks, how much weight did you lose?
50.6 pounds. We're actually over. It was like closer to 54, actually. I'm sorry.
We've lost a total of 54 now.
54. Yep. Yep.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself. What do you do for work, kids, family?
I work in IT, so my lifestyle before was completely sedentary. I do have a 14-year-old son, and so he's actually super active. So it was hard for me to keep up with him, like when he's playing baseball and things like that. And so I finally came at a point where I was like, man, it's like something's got to change. I don't feel good, and I'm glad that, we were able to meet serendipitously, right? It was something that was not planned, but I'm happy that it happened out the way it did.
It's been such
Yeah.
a cool journey, and you've been so proactive in the community. I love it. And coming into this, Teddy, I know you had a goal in mind. How much weight and what exactly were you hoping to achieve over that period of time with us?
Yeah, so when we met, I was closer to about 304. The magic number for me was 250. When we talked about it, I was like, if I can get to 250, that would be the game changer for me because that'll prove to me like I can do it. And I was so happy that on Sunday we hit the goal right on. I hit 250, what did I say, point 0.6,
Something
and
like
I was
that.
like, we did it. That was such a huge confidence boost from that beginning. So
I
yeah.
love it, man. And just to explain to everyone, like, what were your reasons to losing this weight in the beginning?
At first, it was mostly because I was extremely unhappy. I was struggling with, just walking down the street, going upstairs. I was sleeping almost maybe like 2 hours. I would wake up almost every 2 hours. So you can imagine, like, I was always tired, always groggy. In fact, my family would always joke around because if I'm sedentary, I'm starting to doze off. Doesn't matter what we're doing. I guess I got kind of fed up with being unhappy and looking in the mirror and just kind of like, man, I hate what I've done to, myself, right? And then as we started progressing in the journey, that also kind of shifted because I was like, man, like I want to be here for my kids, like I want to live longer and be more active so I can actually play and hang out with my young ones. So that's now the new goal is just to continue the lifestyle moving forward.
I love it. Did you have any initial doubts or fears before joining? And I think we've had this discussion multiple times. Initially, you had some hesitation, but I called you out on it.
You did, and I'm so glad you did because essentially there was one thing that stood out to me when we talked, which was when you asked like, "Hey, if I could help you reach your goal of getting to 250, what would that do for you mentally?" Right? And I was like, I already knew physically I'd feel great, but mentally I was like, wow, nobody's ever asked me that before, and I was like, okay, mentally I know for sure it would give me what I'm feeling now, that confidence, right? And just knowing that even if I fall short of a goal, like it's a learning experience. It's not a complete failure. And so, yeah, the biggest doubt and fear was just not knowing if I could do it, right? Being 303 pounds at the beginning, and I've tried, different diets, and I was like, man, like I don't know if I want to make this investment because maybe I'm not ready to put in the effort, right? But I'm glad you asked me that because it made me think in a way that I was like, okay, yeah, this is not just a monetary investment. Like this is truly an investment for the rest of my life, and so I feel like that investment in the program and trusting you and your team with the coaching has completely paid off in the long run. So
I love
yeah.
it. And did you ever have any skepticism of like, is this guy legit? Is this a scam?
Yes, at first, because
Yeah.
well, working in IT, right?
Yeah.
I'm always very conscious of like messages from people that I don't know. But for some reason, I don't know exactly what it was. I saw one of your videos, which was kind of talking, literally called out my lifestyle, right? Hey, are you 300 pounds? Focus on your career. Everything else is falling apart. And then I was like, man, maybe I can learn something from this guy. So I just hit follow. Right. Again, for some reason, I don't know exactly what it was, but when we were talking, I was completely vulnerable. I told you my life story, and you're like, "Hey, it sounds like we have a lot more to talk about. Can we schedule a call?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. Yeah, let's do it.
What
Let me
made
see what
you
you're about."
what made you take the next step from like a conversation in the inbox to a bigger leap of hopping on that phone call?
I think it was kind of like what I talked about with like my doubts, where I was just fed up. I was in a way kind of desperate for help, right? And I was like, man, like obviously there are people out there that know things that I don't know, especially, when it comes to diet and fitness. So I was like, that's why I said serendipitous earlier. You were the first person that I was like, hey, okay, well, let me follow. Let me see what this is about. And then you messaged me right away and I was like, okay, well, let's just see what happens next.
Yeah.
And then when we got on the call and I told you my life story again, but over camera, and I'm like, all right, like, and then you asked me that question, hey, if we could do this for you, what would it do for you mentally? And I was like, all right, I'm sold. Like, let's see what you can do.
It's all those little micro commitments, right? That's all it really takes. And if you didn't take those little steps gradually, we wouldn't be here. Because Teddy, when was the last time you were under 250 or around 250?
Let's see, probably about 5 years ago.
Like half a decade, and we undid all that in 6 months.
In 6 months. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like
So
you just bought yourself so much more time in terms of the process, but also just we probably extended your lifespan.
I would say so, because the stars kind of aligned when we first met. Because I believe when we met, I think the following day I went to go get a physical done and got blood work done, and my fears were confirmed. Like everything that I thought, because I hadn't been to the doctor in a while. Everything to that point, I was like, man, I probably have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you name it, right? All the bad stuff. And when I saw everything, and thankfully, I was like, I was high, but it's correctable, right? That's what my
Yeah.
doctor said. He's like, hey, look, like it's not too late, we can still make a change, so it's up to you. And then I was like, great. Like I had a call with a coach yesterday and I signed up, so like we're
Well,
gonna see what we could do.
you're well on your way. I love that. And I
Yeah.
want to hear Teddy, like you keep talking about confidence and energy. What changes or impact have you actually seen in your life?
I did mention one earlier about like being afraid to fail,
Mm,
right? And that was actually one of my biggest hurdles when we started the program. I was so afraid to fail that it would cripple me. I look at things now in a different lens, right? In 6 months, I'm able to do that, where even if I fall short of a goal, I still see it as a learning opportunity. Whereas before, I'd be like, man, I failed. All right, never mind. I'm not even gonna try. But those incremental steps in the program where, me and Coach Naz were working, where, I might have faltered in the week, but then we would talk about it and see, hey, like how can we do better? All right, let's implement that this week. Ultimately got to, where we are today. And then as far as the confidence is concerned, like I'm so grateful, to have met you and Coach Naz, because that's something I lost so long ago, right? My confidence, just being able to do anything, right? Looking in the mirror and I would just see what I've done to myself, and I'm just like, man, like I was really depressed. But now seeing all the work that we've undone, and I'm just like, oh great. Well, there's so much hope. It started with just shirts fitting better. Because of my confidence I've gotten from the program, I even signed up for my first 5K run.
oh,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations, dude.
Because I'm already walking. I think 5K for us is like 3 miles,
Yeah,
right? I was like, I do that on a daily basis already. Why not do it for a cause at work?
yeah.
And I had one of my coworkers was like, hey, you should, why don't you sign up? I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, let's put it on paper and let's make it happen. So if it wasn't for the program to bring back that confidence and then also show me physically, like, hey, you're capable of this, I wouldn't have signed up. And so, signing up for that 5K, I was like, yeah, this is the direction that I want to go right here.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Like all these little things, it encourages you to try, take risk, and have that self-belief, which is so powerful and invaluable, right?
absolutely.
And
Yep.
if you had to summarize three things, Teddy, like mentally, emotionally, physically, what are some key takeaways or the most valuable things you got out of this whole experience?
Actually, this is great because Coach Naz and I had so much conversations about like how to get over mental barriers. So the most important thing I picked up from the program was resilience. We're human, right? Day to day, we're gonna fall short, or sometimes things that we cannot help, we cannot handle it. Like, how are we going to get over that so we could still be successful, right? So, resilience. Emotionally, I feel like since I'm keeping myself in check, right? And like another thing that Coach Naz taught me was like, hey, you're the head of the household, right? It's important for you to take care of yourself so you could take care of your family. And I'm like, wow, that's powerful. You're right. Because if I don't feel 100%, how can I expect to take care of my family? And then physically pushing myself and what you taught me of like progressive overload in everything, right? So not just the lifting weights, but even I think we talked about where my goal was to start getting back into running. So even just pushing my body a little bit more in my cardio, physically, I feel amazing. I feel stronger than I ever have been. Even at 250 pounds now, I'm just like, I'm like, all right, cool.
I
Like
love it,
we could do
man.
this.
And like it's so cool to have seen your journey progress over the past 6 months, not just physically but mentally as well. Even productivity has improved, right? With all the little strategies and things that we speak about. And I think we've
Mhm.
created a really cool community. And I appreciate you for being always so proactive and participating in that.
Yeah.
And be honest, Teddy, is this something you would recommend to others?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt, for anybody who's like on the fence about, joining the program or coaching in general, I'd say this is one of the few things where this investment in yourself, I would say jump into the deep end and learn. Right. Because just like anybody else, yes, I was skeptical in the beginning. Again, right. Like I said earlier, Alex, like I was like, man, this complete stranger, messaging me on Instagram. And I'm like, man, I don't know how I feel about this. But using me as a testament of the evolution program and the coaching from your team, the whole community, like, yeah, absolutely. I 100% recommend to anybody.
And if you said no on that call, Teddy, and you said, "Oh, I'll think about it," where do you think you would have been?
I honestly think about this all the time. And in all honesty, 6 months ago, I probably would be in the same position, or if not worse, right? 303 pounds, sedentary, not doing anything, hating myself. And if I never would have taken you up on your offer to join the program, where I'd probably be over 303 pounds. I'm happy that I don't know
Yeah.
at this point, right? I'm so happy I don't know.
Because it said like crazy, like a split second decision changed the trajectory of growth and where you could have
Yes.
been now to versus where you would have been if nothing changed. And I think I even asked you that on the call. That's one of my favorite questions to ask people because it really gets them thinking. It's like, where do you think you'll be in 5 years if nothing changes? And it's not a pretty picture for majority. It really isn't.
It's not. Yeah, and like I said, I think about this often just because I know what it's like to be on that other side, right? Knowing already how sad I was, in my own body, right? Now, 6 months later, I'm like, hey, like I'm actually proud of you. If you never would have done this one decision, where would we be?
And
Much worse.
it's funny you say that, Teddy. Like you speak to yourself and you see yourself in the mirror and you say, "I hate you." But what's crazy is you were doing that for so long, and people are in the same positions. Like they keep saying, "I hate you" and "I want to change," but they never pull the trigger. You did. You pulled the trigger.
Yes, yeah, yeah. At some point, like I mentioned earlier, there's somebody out there that knows something you don't know, right? The weekly calls and then of course the one-on-one check-ins with Coach Naz and actually getting to the fine details and answering all the questions I had about training or dieting, it's helped a ton. I hope you guys continue doing what you guys are doing because
I appreciate that,
man, you
Teddy.
guys literally changed my life, man. Thank you.
No, no, that is absolutely my pleasure, man. And I'm glad that you've enjoyed it. I'm so glad to hear, man. I'm really glad to hear it. And just before we wrap up, would you say it was worth the investment?
100%. 100%. Yes.
Mm.
The way I like to say it is the investment has already paid for itself. At the beginning, I was like, oh man, I don't know, man. Like that's with how my mindset was and being afraid of failure, I was afraid to invest that much money in myself. Going through the program now, looking back and I'm like, wow, like you guys gave me back something that I lost so long ago that investment paid for itself in the way I feel. And now like I'm looking at myself, I'm so happy with what I'm seeing and I know I can continue on this lifestyle moving forward. So yeah, absolutely 100% worth the investment.